I was a pretty happy person, but still carrying quite a bit of pain as well, and I realised that life could be happier. And I think after being around dying people so much and realising how quickly life is over, I was given the opportunity to review my life in the best possible ways. And so I used a path of meditation to really get to the core of where things were holding me back, and over a course of a long time, over a couple of years, I really did let go of a lot of the things that were causing me pain, and as a result, my life had changed considerably and continues to in the best possible ways. I'd been looking after a lady called Stella, and it was a really special time we'd shared. And just before she died, she went into a coma, and she'd been in a coma for overnight, and I came in on the morning shift, and she was still in a coma, had no response at all to myself or to her family nearby. And then after a couple of hours, we were sitting around her waiting for her to pass on, and she opened her eyes and looked at the ceiling and had the most beautiful smile. The most beautiful smile came to her face. And she was staring at something that we couldn't see, and never before or never since have I seen such a joyous smile. It was incredible. And so then her eyes just rolled back, and she let out a small moan, and she died. And it was such a peaceful parting that I didn't initially realise that she had actually died. And since then, it's given me, I already had a strong faith, but it's given me faith always that there is something more to go to or to return to. In my experience, I didn't see very much difference between the two. I think when it comes to the very end, it doesn't really matter whether you are a man or a woman. You're still a person reviewing your life and dealing with illness. So I found that both the men and the women had a lot to share, a lot to talk about, and shared similar emotions. Some of them had fear, some of them had faith, all sorts of things, but I didn't find that there was a huge difference between whether it was a man or a woman speaking with me. I think the differences were more according to how the person had lived their life. I don't know that I can explain it, other than I think it was written very honestly and very simply, and it obviously resonated with a huge audience, millions of people. I think perhaps it's given people courage to be who they are, and it's also helped people face the fact that life is their own choice, and that we are all going to die. And in the simplest way, it's just struck a chord with everyone. So I think it just brings the notion of death to people's awareness, but not in a terrifying way. I think that the most common thing that people have gained from reading the book is that it's given them permission to live the life they want to be living. And through sharing my own journey and what I've had to overcome in order to do that myself, it gives real life examples of how much courage you need, but how it is possible to change your life. So I think the main thing that people will get from the book is just kindness towards themselves and permission to live the life that they want to be living. The main thing to ask yourself is if the life you're living is the life that you want to be living. If you were to know that you only had a day or two left of your life, what regrets would you die with right now? And if you can come up with those regrets, and most people can, then those are the areas of your life that need changing now. And so I would suggest to start working on those. I think the other thing is that self-love and kindness towards ourselves is really the tool to make any huge changes in your life. And so in whatever actions you're doing, in whatever lifestyle you're living, you need to ask, is it a life true to your own heart? And is it a life that is authentic to your own kindness? And if you realise that you're doing things to please other people, then you're not really living the most authentic life you can, and there is a very high risk of you having regrets at the end of your life. Most artists, whether they're authors or songwriters or whatever, will draw upon personal experience for their first book or their first major work. I think it is a natural release that does happen. And so I think that whether you're writing fiction or a memoir, you will naturally draw upon personal experience, yes. In my experience, honesty brings people together, and so I wrote completely openly and honestly, and I find that is actually something that has bonded myself with my readers. So I think you have to write as you're guided, and hopefully you become more and more comfortable in writing openly and honestly as you progress into your work. I don't think it helps to be too guarded if you are writing an honest memoir. So be as honest as you're guided and as honest as you're comfortable, and know that honesty will bond you and the readers. On a day-to-day basis, I maintain balance as best I can. And sometimes that means closing the computer and giving myself days off when there's always going to be work to be done. I think that it's a choice on a daily basis. It's about making small choices on a daily basis. It's also about keeping life very simple and knowing that there has to be balance. So there has to be time for pleasure and family and friends as well as work, and that the work will wait, and that unfortunately it will always, there will always be more work. But if you wait for your retirement to enjoy your pleasure, then there's no guarantee you'll actually make it that far in life. And so for me, I just ask myself on a daily basis, how much work do I want to do on this day? And I'm very conscious in my choices and about keeping my life as simple as possible. Becoming a songwriter before I became an author has actually been a huge blessing. Because I was performing my songs, and so through writing and performing I learnt to become a much more open person, and this has brought great benefit to my writing. It's taught me to be open, and they do overlap though. Both my songs and my book and my articles are all story. I'm naturally a storyteller who wants to inspire, and so my songs and my writing both overlap in that regard, that they do both travel along those same lines. Due to motherhood and book writing, I've not been performing as much lately, but I do have 2 albums that I've released, and both are available online. In time, though, I'd like to develop workshops where I can incorporate my music into my speaking, and so if you come along to my workshops, you'll hear me sing then. Ideas are forming for a new book, and I'm looking very forward to sitting down and beginning that soon. I don't put myself under too much pressure though, so it will unfold naturally, I'm sure. And so a book will be the next creative piece of work that I release.